The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, please do yourself a favor and smash that like and subscribe button and that bell notification because YouTube is trying to keep your boy BT and True School Sports down. They're trying to get us beat by not giving you guys the videos when I put them out. So, just so you don't miss anything, please, I'd be very thankful and appreciative if you push that bell notification near the subscribe button so you get all the alerts and all the videos when they come out as they come out. You see what I'm saying? But listen, getting into the video, Froch, he's at it again. He's at it again, tearing apart the record and the legacy of Joe Calzaghe. Now, ever since the COVID epidemic started, and people have had time to reflect on their lives and or boxing careers, Froch has done this multiple times, and apparently he doesn't like the past. He doesn't like how the past played out, and he's letting the world know in the form of tearing down Joe Calzaghe once again. So let's get into what Froch said, and we will dissect from there. Here's what he said about Joe Calzaghe, his record and his resume, saying, I quote, He won the WBO belt on an undercard of a Prince Nassim Hamed fight in Sheffield. He fought an old, faded Chris Eubank who was weight drained. He won the WBO title and then he defended it for 10 years against, I don't even know. I can't remember the names of the guys he fought for 10 years, but he's unbeaten in 46 fights. Hall of Famer. You can't argue with his record, but he had 10 years of mediocrity defending the title. Probably his best win was against an injured Mikhail Kessler. Many say it's Jeff Lacy, but let's be honest. Jeff Lacy was a hype job. The Hopkins win was so close and so debatable. I think it was a 55-45 split in Hopkins' favor on the night by all the top American media. Very, very close. Then he fought a totally shot to bits Roy Jones Jr. He even said himself before that in an interview that I read before that beating Roy Jones Jr. proves nothing because he's so finished. He's so past his best. So those are the words from Froch. Now listen. Froch is a known Joe Calzaghe hater. He's a straight hater. He really is. I mean, because the reality is this. If we want to just be real and keep it 100% here on True School Sports, the reality is the biggest reason why Froch was able to be as great as he was in boxing was because Joe Calzaghe wasn't at 68. When Joe Calzaghe got to the top of 68 of the superweight division, Joe Calzaghe was no longer there for Froch, and that fight didn't take place. Because had it taken place, I'm telling you right now, from the bottom of my heart, with nothing but conviction in my blood and my blood and my guts, that Joe Calzaghe would have taken Froch to school. He would take him to school because he's too skillful, too much energy, too much stamina. The work rate is too high, and Froch is not going to land one of those Hail Mary shots that he landed in front of George Groves, in front of 80,000 people at Wembley Stadium. Now, getting into Joe Calzaghe's resume, the reality is this. Okay, he was 46-0, 32 knockouts. And even if he did have 10 years of mediocrity, which I think is fair to say, he fought a bunch of guys whose names have been not remembered throughout the course of history, like your Robin Reeds and your Mario Vites and them guys like that. But when he stepped up, and when I'm talking about Calzaghe, when he stepped up, every time he stepped up in his career, whether it was Kessler, whether it was Eubank, whether it was Jeff Lacy, whether it was Hopkins, whether it was Roy Jones Jr., every time he stepped up and the stage got bigger, he performed. Okay? So I don't care how mediocre your opposition is, there's always going to be those points in any fighter's career where they're going to step up and have to face that moment of truth. And I would say in Joe Calzaghe, he had 5 fights in his career what you could say would have been his moment of truth, which would be Eubank, Kessler, Lacy, Jones, and Hopkins. And all 5 times he answered the bell. All 5 of them. In the case of Jones and Hopkins, yes. I mean, well, more so Jones. Jones was in the back 9 of his career. And Hopkins, I mean, he still fought for like 10 years after that. So it doesn't matter for Hopkins. But both those guys he fought dropped him in the first round. Both of them. As old and as washed as Roy was, he still dropped Joe in the first round. And he didn't show that extra bit of quality to get Joe out of there. Same thing with Hopkins. Hopkins dropped him in the first round, didn't even try to get him out of there. He was just patient and methodical and whatever. That was his strategy, and he thought it worked for him, but he probably should have tried to finish Joe Calzaghe. So with that being said, those guys couldn't show the extra bit of quality to get Joe Calzaghe out of there. And people want to gloss over that and lose that in the context of what's happened in his career and the 46-0 that he accumulated. Personally, for me, I think his best win is Jeff Lacy, and I'm going to explain to you why I think Jeff Lacy is Joe Calzaghe's best win. Now, you must remember, and it is of great importance that you remember that Jeff Lacy had a ton of hype coming into that fight. A lot of people were tabbing Jeff Lacy as the next great American fighter. A lot of people were saying that Jeff Lacy was going to beat Joe Calzaghe and kindly remove him of his belt. But that's not what happened. Instead, what we got was Joe Calzaghe turning in an absolute masterclass on the night. And he beat Jeff Lacy so badly. He beat Jeff Lacy so soundly that Jeff Lacy was never the same after that. He handed Jeff Lacy the first loss of his career. And this was a Jeff Lacy who, 2 fights prior to fighting Joe Calzaghe, he had stopped the same Robin Reed that Joe Calzaghe, in the eyes of some, lost to, had a close fight with, controversial fight with. And so you can't really say he was a bum or that he was hyped up, because he beat a guy soundly by stopping him that Joe Calzaghe had his fair share of problems with. Same thing a couple of fights before that. He fought Omar Shalka, who was a decent name in the division. Whooped him, beat him. So with that being said, I like the Jeff Lacy win. I think the Jeff Lacy win was great, because it's easy to say now that he's a hype job because of how his career played out. He was undefeated when Joe Calzaghe fought him. He would later go on to lose 5 more times after Joe Calzaghe and finish his career with 6 losses. So it's very easy to point the finger and say he was a hype job. But, everyone knows, everybody and their mother knows that when you fight an undefeated fighter, it takes the extra bit of quality to finish him and get him out of there. And he didn't stop him, but he did turn in a masterclass performance, and he beat him so badly that he was never the same after that. So to me, that's his best win because of the context of it, because of the fact that Jeff Lacy was supposed to be the next Mike Tyson and the next great fighter and all these things. And these things are funny to say now because of how his career played out. But back then, he really had that hype around him. He had that clout around him. So I like that one a lot. You had the Kessler win, which was obviously very great. And it's kind of weird to me how, like, Carl Froch can sit here and hate on Joe Calzaghe's resume, because he should just be content with what he did in boxing. Because the reality is this: there's an argument to be made that Carl Froch, even though he didn't have the undefeated sparkling record like Joe Calzaghe, that he gave boxing fans more moments in that ring to remember him by than Joe Calzaghe did. Because boxing is not always about winning and losing. It's ultimately about the moments that you leave behind when your career is done. So, like, for example, Carl Froch knocking out George Groves in front of 80,000 people at Wembley Stadium. That's a moment. Being the underdog against Lucien Boutin and stopping him. That's a moment. The Glenn Johnson fight was a moment. He had a lot of great moments in his career that he could be proud of and that he should be proud of, Carl Froch. And his career was incredible because of the moments that he left boxing fans with. It's like the same thing with some of my favorite fighters of all time. Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield, 2 of my favorite fighters of all time. When you talk about those guys' names, there's moments that you can trace back to those names. Particularly like in their first fight. Riddick Bowe hits Evander Holyfield with an uppercut from hell. And Holyfield somehow doesn't even get dropped by it. He weathers the storm throughout the first half of the round, and then in the latter stages of the round, puts together a flurry of his own and puts Riddick Bowe in an uncomfortable position and creates one of the best rounds in boxing history. And that round 10 of the first fight is still being talked about to this very day because boxing fans had a moment to remember them by. And same thing with Froch. He had moments. As he would say many times, he knocked out George Groves in front of 80,000 people in the Wembley Stadium. And he should be proud of that. But is he proud of that? Apparently not enough, because he's still sitting over here hating and salty and mad about Joe Calzaghe. And he should be thankful that Joe Calzaghe didn't fight him and that he left 168 when he got to the top, because he wanted to go to America. He wanted to try to make his name in America. Something that Carl Froch didn't really do. I mean, yeah, he fought in America, but he didn't box in the big American venues. He didn't box in the Garden. He didn't box in MGM Grand. He didn't really have those big-time American fights like Joe Calzaghe. But I digress. You guys let me know what you think in the comments down below about Carl Froch and Joe Calzaghe. I think Joe would have schooled him. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you take the time to subscribe and push that bell notification, because I really need to make sure you guys do that. And like I say at every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me. But I'm just kidding from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.